Yeah, fair use. Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976 allowance is made for fair use for the purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright. Fair use is for educational purposes. I am not making any money. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. I want to give all praise, all honor, all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and in sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters, you Achwatim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Aram Yehowadah with the lesson. And this thing is a little bit long, so I'm gonna start off with because they waited till like the end to show you the two good cans of tuna that you're supposed to get. So I'm gonna start off with the two good cans, and then I'm gonna play it back from the beginning where it shows. I'm gonna just do a couple of them, because I'm not gonna do the whole thing because it's gonna be too long. But yeah.
And for the people buying this product, that gap matters most. Two brands made it through clean. No criminal history, no sourcing gaps, no label that turned out to be a lie. Here's what's actually worth buying. Best option number 2, American tuna. This one is exactly what it says it is. American albacore, caught off the United States Pacific coast by American fishing families who've worked those specific waters for generations, processed in American facilities operating under domestic regulatory oversight. The supply chain doesn't pass through Thai Union. It doesn't touch the Bumblebee restructuring. It doesn't move through any of the opaque international processing networks where species substitution becomes possible at every handoff. The supply chain is the simplest in the entire canned tuna category, and that simplicity is the point. American boats catch Pacific Coast albacore in verified, documented fishing grounds. That fish goes directly to processing, without a multi-country journey through brokers, transit facilities, and third-party processors where accountability disappears at every transfer. Full traceability from a specific ocean region to a specific can is built into the model because the model was designed around accountability, not volume. Family-owned, never acquired by a multinational seafood conglomerate, never absorbed into a corporate portfolio where sourcing decisions get made by procurement teams optimizing for margin. The families behind American tuna have their names and livelihoods directly attached to the quality of every can that ships. That accountability is structural. It doesn't vanish after a bankruptcy filing or a private equity acquisition, because neither of those things has happened. Independent species verification confirms what the label states. Mercury levels in Pacific Coast albacore test consistently within safe ranges. Sodium levels are honest. The ingredient panel is short enough to read in 10 seconds. American tuna isn't on every grocery shelf. It's available online and through specialty retailers. It costs more than every brand on the skip list. That cost is the domestic fishing, the family ownership, and the supply chain integrity that begins and ends in American waters. If you can find it, it's worth it. And if you want the single strongest option in the entire category, here it is. Best option number 1, Wild Planet Tuna. This brand wasn't built as a premium line extension of an existing seafood conglomerate. It was built from the ground up as a direct rejection of everything wrong with how this category operates. That founding intention isn't marketing copy, it's visible in every verifiable detail behind the product. The tuna is pole and line caught. That matters more than it might initially sound. Pole and line is the most selective commercial fishing method available. One fish is caught at a time. There's no net dragging unintended species into the same catch volume alongside the target fish. No bycatch mixing species that were never supposed to be in the can. The method is slower, more expensive, and less scalable than industrial net fishing. That's precisely why every other brand in this investigation doesn't use it. The fisheries are named. The catch regions are documented. There's a paper trail connecting a specific area of ocean to the specific can in your hand, because the supply chain was built around traceability, not volume. Non-GMO verified. No added water inflating the apparent weight of the fish and artificially boosting the protein number on the label. No broth. No fillers. McGree-Nint. Panel on Wild Planet albacore tuna reads, albacore tuna, sea salt. 2 ingredients. Every other brand in this investigation requires significantly more to approximate what a properly sourced, honestly processed can of tuna should simply be. Species verified through independent third-party DNA testing. The label says albacore. The testing confirms albacore. That should be a baseline standard across the entire category. And in the context of everything this investigation uncovered, it's rare enough to be a genuine differentiator between a brand you can trust and one you can't. Mercury tested with results disclosed. BPA-free can lining across the entire product line. 0 recalls since the brand was founded. Open a can of Wild Planet albacore and break the fish apart with a fork. It holds firm. Consistent grain, clear muscle fiber running in a uniform direction throughout the entire can. It smells clean and genuinely oceanic. Not processed flat, not chemically muted, not like multiple species were combined in the same facility and pressed into the same shape. That's what a single verified species, pole and line caught, processed without fillers or added water, actually looks and smells like. The difference is noticeable the first time you open one. Wild Planet costs more than Starkist, more than Bumblebee, more than every store brand in the tuna aisle. That cost is the pole and line fishing, the named fisheries, the independent testing, and the refusal to substitute a cheaper species when the target catch runs short. You're not paying for a label that implies quality. You're paying for a supply chain built to deliver it. 7 brands, 2 that held up. You chose canned tuna because the logic was sound. Low mercury when sourced correctly. High in omega-3s. Accessible nutrition that pregnant women disclosure beyond what the FDA already mandates across the entire category. And here's something most shoppers don't realize. The manufacturer producing great value tuna this quarter may not be the manufacturer producing it next quarter. The contract rotates on price. When it rotates, the sourcing changes, the facility changes, and the species verification standards of whoever won the latest bid become the effective standards of the can you're currently holding. The label stays identical. Everything behind it can change with 0 visible signal to the person buying it. DNA testing on store brand tuna has consistently produced some of the highest species substitution rates in the entire canned tuna category. The economics explain it directly. Named, documented fisheries cost more than anonymous international brokers. Mercury testing above the regulatory minimum costs money. Every one of those costs works against winning the Walmart contract. So they get cut, and the substitution rates in independent testing reflect exactly that. Drain a great value can and hold the liquid up toward a light source. Properly processed single-species tuna runs relatively clear, murky, inconsistently colored brine, where the liquid looks different across different parts of the same can, reflects what happens when species with different fat contents, different protein structures. 3 brands down. The next one has been a pantry staple for over a century, and the story behind who actually owns it changes how the whole thing looks. Number 4, Chicken of the Sea. This is the one that's been in your family's pantry for over 100 years. The mermaid has been on that can since 1914. For a lot of shoppers, especially seniors and families who've been buying the same staples for decades, Chicken of the Sea doesn't register as a brand anymore. It registers as a fixture, something permanent, something safe in the specific way that only deeply familiar things feel safe. That feeling is the product. What's behind it is a very different story. Chicken of the Sea is owned by Thai Union, a Thai corporation that controls approximately 20% of the global canned seafood market. The mermaid stays on the front. Thai Union stays invisible. That arrangement isn't accidental. The Associated Press published a landmark investigative series into Thai Union's fishing vessels and supply chain operations. What reporters documented was forced labor. Men trafficked onto fishing boats and held at sea for months or years at a time, without pay, without contracts, and with no way off the vessel. The fish caught under those conditions moved through Thai Union's supply chain and into cans on American grocery shelves. That investigation was awarded the Pulitzer Prize. Thai Union issued public statements, joined international sustainability coalitions, and committed to systemic reform. But independent audits conducted after those initial investigations continued to raise unresolved sourcing concerns. Certifications were obtained. What actually happens on a vessel 200 miles offshore at 3 in the morning is significantly harder to verify than what gets published in a sustainability press release. The scale of Thai Union's tuna operations makes the accountability problem structural. More vessels, more processing facilities spread across multiple countries, more transfer points where species substitution can occur before the fish reaches a can. And when the supply chain is this large and this deliberately opaque, the systems responsible for catching substitution before the can is sealed are the same systems the corporation controls and self-audits. Open a Chicken of the Sea can and look at the liquid before draining it. In a properly processed single-species product, the brine runs consistently, clear or very lightly colored throughout. Liquid that's cloudy or visibly inconsistent from one section of the can to another reflects what happens when species with different fat compositions and protein structures are processed together under the same conditions. The mermaid has been smiling through every investigation and every Pulitzer Prize for over a century. She's not smiling for you. She's smiling for Thai Union. If this investigation is already changing how you see the tuna aisle, a quick like helps more people find it. Number 3, Bumblebee Foods. This one completed a criminal triangle. Starkist pleaded guilty. Chicken of the Sea cooperated with federal investigators. Bumblebee went the furthest of all three. Bumblebee's CEO, Christopher Leshesky, was convicted at trial in 2019 and sentenced to 40 months in federal prison. Not a settlement, not a deferred prosecution where the company pays a fine and moves on. A jury trial, a guilty verdict. The man running one of the most widely purchased canned tuna brands in America was found criminally guilty of conspiracy to fix prices and sent to prison for it. Bumblebee filed for bankruptcy the same year. The company restructured under new private equity ownership, emerged with updated messaging, refreshed packaging, and public commitments to sustainability and sourcing transparency. Here's the honest test for whether a company that restructured after a criminal conviction has genuinely changed anything that matters. Look at what's verifiably different about how the product is sourced, tested, and independently verified. Not the press release, not the new logo, the actual supply chain. Bumblebee post-restructuring still doesn't carry independent third-party species verification across its standard product lines. There's still no named fishery on the standard label. There's still no audit trail a consumer can follow from a specific ocean location to the specific can in the grocery aisle. The sourcing accountability that was absent before the criminal proceedings is structurally absent after the bankruptcy filing and the private equity acquisition. What changed was the ownership. The opacity didn't change with it. Independent testing on Bumblebee products since restructuring has continued to surface the same categories of concern: mercury level inconsistencies across product lines, species verification questions the company doesn't volunteer to address. That means the problems aren't tied to who ran the company, they're tied to how the supply chain is built. Open a can.
Yeah, so this is Psalms 8 and 7. It says, all the sheep and oxen, yea, all the beasts of the field. Right? Because you do hunting. Back in the day you used to hunt. You have to hunt for your food. And in these days you go to so-called grocery store, but that's not, as you can see, it's not panning out so great that our generations before us basically failed because they just gave up and entrusted in these factories, these stores, the government, right? And allowed them to say, yeah, you have to go to these grocery stores, And also they were passing laws saying you could no longer have animals in this area and this animal in this area, So they put too much trust in this system, and as you see, they've taken advantage of that, right? Because for all the fowls of the air and the fish of the sea, right, and whatsoever passes through the paths of the sea, right, whatever animal that goes through the sea, and then. The Lord said that there's certain things that we can eat, that we can't eat, that are lawful and unlawful, right? So you have to know that. It says, oh Yahweh, right? Which means he exists or existing one. Yahweh or Ada one, right? Because he's our Lord, right? Through his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is our Lord. You know what I mean? Through Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakadash, how excellency is thy name in all the earth, right? Because you're supposed to give thanks to God for your food, Yeah, so this is Leviticus 11. Spencer mentioned, that all the beasts of the field, the beast, the fish of the sea, all those things, you can eat. Let's know what we can eat, which is Leviticus 11. It says, and 2, speak unto the children of Israel, or Yasharallah, saying, these are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are upon the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof and is cloven footed, and cheweth the cud meaning grass, right? Like a deer, cow, antelope, elk, those type of things that that's what they eat. They eat grass. They among the beast. Among the beasts that shall ye eat. It says I'm skip down. It says and all. It says and the swine, though he divideth the hoof, right, and be cloven footed, yet he cheweth not the cud. So a swine, or what you call a pig, does not chew the cud. It doesn't chew grass, and even if it does, its digestive system does not break down grass. Right? It doesn't break it down. Right? But cows and things like that, will break down grass. You know, you might go, oh, a horse eats grass, but it just spoke to you about it being that it part of um, the hoof and it's cloven footed. A horse is not cloven footed, right? So though it chew grass, it's not cloven footed. So you can't eat a horse. Though in some countries, and even here in America, I believe here I live in Arizona. Arizona, I believe they made it legal for you to eat horses not too long ago. So I don't know. I don't know if they're doing it in these restaurants and it's not disclosed where they're getting the meat from or anything. I mean, I've never. I think to ask till just right now. I definitely need to start asking because I believe they passed that it's lawful to eat a horse in Arizona. Um, if I remember, if I'm correct, and it says but a horse is not cloven footed, and it's telling you the swine, the pig, though he divideth the hoof and be cloven footed, yet he cheweth not the cut. He don't chew grass. He is unclean to you. It's an unclean thing to a person. Ultimately, the persons that it's talking to are the Israelites, right? It's not talking about everybody. But, I mean, you could benefit. I mean, it is the thing that God says, and he knows everything. So, I mean, why question the all-knowing, all-seeing, omnipotent, omnipresent? That's what people, you throw it out there as if that's a small thing. But then when you say you shouldn't eat, you could eat, all you got to do is pray. The JC got on the cross, and now you could just do whatever you want to do. When he said, even then he said, I came to do the will of my Father. Well, his Father, this is the will of the Father. Hey, leave it to an anti-Hamashiach, and they'll say all sorts of bizarre things. And it says, and of their flesh shall ye not touch. See, if the Lord's that adamant about you not eating the swine so much that he said you can't even touch it. Well, yeah, you know what? JC jumped on the cross and everything's all over with now. Nah, this is some BS, man. I mean, he's very forthcoming, right? And he's saying this to tell you, and of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcasses shall ye not touch. See, you can't even touch it. Let alone how you're going to eat something you can't touch. How can you put it on the grill? You're not allowed to touch it. You know what I mean? They are unclean to you. It says, these shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever have fins and scales. Right? See, and that's the thing with that whole thing, because they were saying they were mixing species in that in those different tuna cans. And I kind of fast forwarded a little bit because there's a bunch more. The thing was long, but it went through a bunch of them because it said 7. I just did those couple because most people shop at Walmart, so let you know that they cross contaminate different things, and it may not even be a fish at all when it comes to Walmart, because obviously the dude said that they don't even have boat ports, so you don't know where that's just some lab grown meat, something like that, because that's not coming from a boat line. Now the chicken of the sea, they have boats and they're connected to catchers, but what they're saying is they cross contaminate their catchers. You may have a little bit of a squid and some other fish and something else, and then they blend it all together and then serve it to you and tell you that this is the chicken of the sea. This is tuna, right? And the Lord said you should not eat it with things that do not have fins or scales. So in that case, that's what you're eating. Things that do not have fins and scales. Because I believe tuna has fins and scales. But when you're cross-contaminating things, the mercury levels are too high, things are just misconstrued, or even it may be a lot of it's not even tuna at all. It's just some beyond meat, some created stuff, right? Who knows? So what it says, and there shall these shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever haveth fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, and in the rivers, right, with like the fresh water, them shall ye eat, right? And that's basically pretty much it. And it says all that have not fins and scales in the sea and in the rivers, and of all that moveth in the water, and of any living thing which is in the waters, these shall be an abomination unto you. So most likely these things are cross-carrying things that's an abomination to you, right? So, yeah, so this is 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 21. It says, behold, victuals shall be so good, cheap upon the earth, they shall think themselves to be in good case. So a lot of people are buying these things, and even like he was saying, some of those things were like staples, like brands, your grandmother, your great grandfather, way back in the day, even to now, like you would think these places would have such a high standard because they've been around for so long. You would think they would take pride in how they survive these many generations of being a company, but they use that as an advantage. So you think yourself to be in good case, but realistically, it's may or may not really be tuna in there when it comes to that. And then it's it's basically, it's just all jacked up. And then it's another thing too to be thinking about that too, because some people might be fixing things for your bug out bag, which Pastor Hart said, we could have, you just don't you don't hang your hat on having a bug out bag. You know what I mean? Oh, should have, our provisions really coming from Yahweh Shai. But just saying, if you did get a bug out bag, now you're gonna have to rethink if you put tuna in your bug out bag. So yeah, definitely got me thinking like, oh shoot, you got to throw away a lot of that stuff. So yeah, you got to reevaluate your bug out bag. But ultimately, like I said, it's all about Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai. You can have a little provisions and things like that, but our hope is in the Lord. But yeah, people think themselves to be in good case. They thought those things were safe, and they wasn't safe. Those are not safe foods at all in that case. And it says and even then shall evils grow upon the earth, so the sword, famine, and great confusion. See, and that's what a lot of people are in. They're not sure about the times. I mean, it seems like something's happening, and then people are mentioning apocalypse, and they're mentioning biblical proportions, but I think they have no clue how biblical it really is. Like you're living the Bible right now. You're about to be a footnote in the book of the future, in the book that's going to be in the kingdom. right? It says, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish. See? And that's ultimately what it is. A lot of people ain't, you're not understanding what's really going on. That the MOTB has to be pushed. World War III has to commence. And a lot of you jakes have to get your just due, your punishments, right? And then, of course, Lord willing, I'm on that right-handed side and get that reward, because the Lord's coming for, to punish and to deliver. So, and his reward is with him, whether if it's punishment or deliverance. So, I mean, you choose, but a lot of you think yourself to be in good case, right? And but what evils says, what it says, for many of them that dwell on the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape hunger, right? Someone may be able to, you just say, I don't give a F if chicken of the sea or what's sort of the bumblebee or whatever it is, the contents ain't right. I got me something to eat. I don't care. So you escape the hunger, shall the sword destroy. See, and then the Lord's going to allow the troops or someone come and unalive you, or someone come like over there in Gary, kick down your door to steal your goods, your food, and your generator and your gas. Yeah. The only thing about that, brothers and sisters, right? You Israelites, you Yasharalites, hey, we in hell. So it's just what it is. You think you buying, you're getting some cheap goods, think trying to save some money because they're making it hell, making the prices more expensive. So you think, hey, let me buy this thing down at the, and you're getting garbage, and then you say, hey, well, I know this is garbage, I'll just pay the extra price to get, and it's still garbage. So, hey, now you got to go outside of the source and like, I mean, it mentioned those two, so that's why I put them first. The two that they mentioned that was actually good. But even then, you don't even know. You don't really even know, because when is one of those big corporations going to buy them out? And if they don't, one of them big corporate, were they going to unalive them and then buy them out, or whatever they do to them? Hey, but yeah, this is Ezekiel 4:13, and the Lord out of one, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Yahushai, meaning, in the name, right, of a son, which means he saves, he delivers. Bahasham Rakakwadash, meaning Holy Spirit, right, because Yahweh is the Father, and his Son, right, which is not the same person, it's his Son, right? Common sense, but only begotten, right? He has his own dispensation that the Lord gives him, his power that the Lord is going to give him, the control that the Lord has given him, has given him all things under his hand, under him, to give to him, under his control. But that doesn't mean that he's the Father. He does have all things in control, but he's not the Father, right? So it says, even thou even thus shall the children of Israel, Salakia, eat their defiled bread, right? Going into, your food, right? Lacham, right? When you do your prayer, sometimes I'll just say Barak Laham, meaning bread, but it's basically just your food, It's a way of just saying, Lord Yahweh, Basham Yahushai, Barak Laham, a way of just saying, you're blessing your food, and you say Aman, and that's it, right? Keeping it simple sometimes, it's key. It's easy, and but we're eating that. It's defiled now, and it's amongst what the Gentiles or the heathen. I always say heathen, but I guess it's Gentile, which basically still means the same thing. Like nations, it means nations. So that's where the Lord scattered us amongst all these other nations, these non-Israelites. This is Gentile, meaning non-Israelite, not Gentile, meaning Israelite foreigner. This is Gentile, meaning actual non-Israelites, right? Because Gentile could mean Israelite, but Gentile could mean actual foreigners, actual, people outside of the commonwealth of Israel, right? And then in this case, that's what it is, because we're scattered amongst our enemies, right? And it's because only an enemy would do that to you, put all sorts of defiled things, things that's not fins and scales inside the thing, and then tell you it's something that has fins and scales. So you're thinking, hey, I could eat freaking chicken of the sea. I could eat the bumblebee. It's tuna. Tuna has fins and scales. Oh, I could eat tuna. But then it got all sorts of other, because they just catch them, drag their net and catch it, and then just chop it all up and then send it to you and call it good. And they'll throw on something that they put olive oil or some other type of flavors and scents and things, so it looks expensive or it looks good, but all in all, it's all BS, And then you got to go on the internet and search for some brand that you don't see in the stores really like that. So that's why I showed the two in the beginning, because it kind of goes a little draggy because of the way they do it. But with all that, I want to give all praise. Did I finish that? It says, eat your defiled bread amongst the Gentiles, whether, he will drive thee, right? I said it, but I didn't read it, but I pretty much said it. Yeah, so whether he will drive thee, which basically where the Lord scattered us amongst all these other, these other actual Gentile nations where they would treat you that way, especially here in Babylon the Great. That's how we know that this is the place that ought to be destroyed, So with all that, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachaha Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, right? The apostles that rule well and they do well, right? The bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preacher in truth and in sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect. The elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father, and have come back to the fold. Shalom to you sisters, your chwatim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. And above all, Kwam Yasharala. We got next.